Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Suthar. Oh my goodness, I am so excited for today's episode. We've got a right awesome person here for you today. Oh my goodness, her name is Charmian Johnson. She's a former global law firm partner. Yeah, I know what? She turned somatic trauma-informed coach and narcissistic abuse specialist. Like, what a change. After nearly 30 years in high pressure legal environments, while secretly battling self-doubt and perfectionism, she discovered the neuroscience behind confidence and performance. And so now, Charm helps high-achieving women reclaim visibility, step fully into their leadership, and thrive. She coaches women one-on-one to break free from living in survival mode, as well as doing many workshops in corporate as well. So please, I'm so excited for our guest today. Please get excited for Charmian Johnson. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. What an intro. Thank you very much.
No worries. I know a little bit about your story, right? I know the big changes that you've gone through, some of the things that you've battled, the ups and downs. But you know, a lot of our audience here today have not heard about that. And I would love for you to share a little bit about your journey, your background. Like, how did you go from corporate to then running your own business and then being completely different? Like, please share some of the ups and downs and the twists and turns, because they're the ones that we all want to hear about.
Yeah, it's very different, isn't it? A big change. So I was a global law firm partner, as you said at the outset. I have been a solicitor for over 27, 28 years, so for nearly 3 decades. I worked at global law firms, always felt that I wasn't good enough, had lots of self-doubt, as a lot of brilliant women I come across have, perfectionism, imposter syndrome. Just going about being a solicitor year after year, getting the promotions, working really hard. And as you know, when you've got a lack of self-confidence and you have self-doubt, you work twice as hard as everybody else to prove your worth. So everything for me was about work, striving to be better. And it really was about work. It was almost all work and no play. Wow. And I did that for almost 3 decades, and really reaching what you'd say is the top of your career, you know, a partner at a global law firm. How amazing is that? What an achievement. And behind the scenes, though, as you said, I felt this self-doubt, perfectionism, imposter syndrome. But we had a lot of family difficulties going on as well. So at the start of lockdown, so that was around, it was May 2020, COVID had hit. Everyone was on lockdown. My alcoholic brother, it was the worst time for addicts because the meetings had stopped. He couldn't go to the office to distract himself from the pain, the emotional pain he was in. He was going through a separation with my sister-in-law. So he was in central London in a flat on his own. Worst scenario for him to battle with his thoughts. And long story short, ultimately, he just drank himself to death, and he was found dead in his flat in London at the start of lockdown. So that was absolutely horrendous. We'd seen a lot of it coming, but it's still absolutely devastating to lose someone in those circumstances. And then my mother and father were acting very strange. They seemed to care more about what other people thought rather than the family unit becoming tighter, really. They divorced years ago, but they were having meetings up at my dad's house, and me and my younger brother were really left out in the cold, and I couldn't really work out why it hadn't brought us together as a family. It seemed to separate us, but rightly or wrongly, I think they thought my brother's alcoholism reflected on them as parents, suggesting they were bad parents. So there was grief, I had confusion, and it ultimately led to me looking online to try and find some reasons for addiction. And I'm now no contact with my parents. And again, because I think they show very narcissistic traits. And so I needed a community, because thankfully not a lot of people go through that. Found this somatic trauma-informed coaching certification, loved it. it provided me with so many answers, and there were light bulb moments left, right, and centre. But ultimately, it showed me why I never felt good enough, because it had blighted me throughout my career. You know, you'd have presentations and meetings all the time as a lawyer, and it was something that niggled me. It was the last thing I thought about at night. It would be the first thing I thought about when I woke up in the morning. It was that nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I'd worry about it until I did my meetings, my presentations. But this training made me think, that's why I felt the way I did. So when I completed my trauma-informed certification, I spoke to my law firm about it because I wanted to launch my business. Again, long story short, ultimately, I couldn't do both. And so I resigned from the law firm partnership and launched my own business. And I haven't really looked back. So yeah, that's a big change.
Wow. Okay. So many questions from all of that. How did you decide that somatic was the pathway for you to go down to kind of, I guess it was like trying to figure out all this yourself and it being therapy and trying to overcome a lot of the trauma. How did you know that was the right pathway?
I think the training I did very much connected the mind and body. And I think talking therapy can be great for people. They can feel seen, heard, understood. But for a lot of people, it just doesn't give them that long-lasting, effective change that they're looking for. They might just feel that they're going around in circles, talking about the same thing, which can be re-traumatizing for some people and ultimately making them feel worse.
Mm.
With somatic trauma-informed training, somatic comes from the Greek word for body. So it's body-based. So whilst talking therapy can be good for some people, what it doesn't do is address the physical impact of stress and trauma that's actually stored in the body. So somatic trauma-informed coaching deals with both and helps release these stored emotions and traumas. Because if you think about it, we don't think anxiety, we feel it, don't we, in the body? And I
Right.
always say to people, you imagine you're about to go and do a social media live or you're about to do a speaking gig. Before you get up to do that, or before you go live, you feel it in the body, don't you? Your heart rate might increase. You might feel a little bit edgy. You might feel a bit hot. Your breathing might get a little bit faster. That's the body thinking, of something it isn't quite safe here. And it perceives a threat and it kickstarts these physical sensations. Now, once you recognize that that's happening, you can then take steps to calm the body back down. So you calm the body, you calm the mind back into the front part of the brain, the emotional, rational thinking part of the brain. And that's where you want to be when you're doing a live or a speaking gig, because then you can speak and think more clearly to communicate better.
Oh
So
my
there's a
goodness.
real brain-body connection here going on.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you explain like with anxiety, it's not in the head, it's in the body. Yeah, it absolutely is, but we don't actually think about it that way, right? But it does affect the body. And so I guess when you became aware of all the different kind of trauma things that you faced at home in your career and all these kind of things, and you went through this process, it feels a little bit heavy because there's a lot of emotions that I guess comes out of all of this. So what is, I guess, the safest way if you're looking to go down this road to do this? Because again, like you're going to be faced with all the different emotions and you may have suppressed them because they've happened in the past. But what's the best way to kind of go about releasing all of that in a safe, positive way?
Yeah, and it can vary for different people, but in general terms, you want to be able to regulate your nervous system so that if you do allow yourself to sit with the feelings that you've perhaps not sat with before, and you're right, we just push on, don't we? We keep going, we keep going. But I think the nervous system regulation, whether it's deep breathing exercises, knowing how to bring yourself back to that calm, balanced state is really important, because when you start feeling everything, you don't want it to become too much, because then it could make you feel worse than you did before. So you have to be able to do it slowly and gently, because you don't want to stress the system. Yes, stretch the system, but don't stress it. So you might think, oh, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed now. You might look outside. And, people talk about grounding, don't they? And I used to
Yeah.
think, what on earth's grounding? It's spiritual woo-woo, the lawyer analytics. But now it's been explained to me. It makes me now realize that it's sending cues of safety to your nervous system. So just looking outside, what can you see? What can you hear? What can you touch? That just moves you out of the emotional part of your brain back into the front part of the brain, and everything calms down. So it's little techniques like that that are really helpful. For example, I often have this little scented balm stick with me, and I gave a few of these out to my former colleagues at the law firm, including my PA. And I just used to say, if you feel yourself getting anxious or you're worried about a call you're going to do, just take your balm, sort of
Mm.
engage that sense of smell. And again, it's moving you out of the emotional part of the brain into the front part of the brain, and everything calms down. Because it's really strange, but we actually feel first. We don't think first, we feel first. So again, calm the body, calm the mind and the thoughts. So
Yeah.
it's little things like this that we've never been taught before, but can make such a massive difference.
Right.
Um, and I was speaking to a lady, and she was about to go to her GP for medication
Oh.
because she was so nervous about having to do speaking gigs. And that we spoke before her next big speaking gig, and I just gave her a few techniques.
Mm.
Um, and it calmed her down so much. After the event, she went, Sham, I cannot believe that I was about to go and get medication from the doctor. My voice wasn't as shaky. I felt a lot calmer. So it really works, this stuff, because of the neuroscience behind it that we've never been told before.
I love it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I've got so many questions. I'm like, where do I start right now? But all right. So when you went through this process, I'm assuming this is a process that you don't just do for a period of time. It's ongoing. Is that right?
Yeah, we always say that healing's not a destination, it's a journey. I work on myself all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And so through doing all of these these steps, and now you've got a process and you work through this with your clients. And I guess working with you is the safest way, right? That's how you know whether you're on track or whether you stretched or gone way too far. And working with you is the safest way to go through these steps, not understanding the steps, what you need to do. And so what would that process look like? And what are some of the common mistakes that you see people do all the time?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, there's a lot of nervous system hacks, isn't there, and quick fixes that you see on social media. And a lot of this is going at the right pace for you, and it will vary from person to person. And we don't want to bypass a lot of the feelings. We want to sit with them. You have to feel to heal. I know it's cheesy, but if you're not sitting with your feelings,
Yeah.
you can't ever process them. They'll stay suppressed. And we know that leads to the stress hormones coursing around the body, causing inflammation, causing illness ultimately. So I think it's really helpful we talk about co-regulation. As human beings, we are wired for connection with people. And we're so connected more than we've ever been, but people are more lonely than they've ever been. So it's good to connect with somebody. I mean, I'll get a buzz from speaking to you like this because it's really nice to speak to somebody. So when you're working with me, I can spot the little signs and we can go through the exercises together. So I'm teaching you how to deal with your own nervous system regulation, what works for you to bring you down. And as you say, you can tell when somebody might be getting a little bit overwhelmed and just needs to regain that calm and focus. So the nervous system regulation tools and techniques are sort of the first stage, because as I said, we don't want to go into anything deeper until we know that you are able to self-regulate. And then after that, we start looking at parts of us that appear. So we might have an imposter part, we might have a perfectionist part, might be an anxious part that pops up. And often that's just your nervous system trying to protect you and move you away from a younger emotional pain that it thinks is too much for you to cope with. So there's all these little techniques and ways of not just regulating your nervous system, but processing these stored emotions as well.
Interesting. Okay, now I'm loving this. Now, you came from a very different background, right? Corporate to now teaching people about, somatic and how that can work for everybody in certain areas. Now, being very different backgrounds, right? And kind of seeing the differences. And I know I spoke behind the scenes about how different it was from being in corporate for 30 years and now running your own business. Was there anything there that you were like, oh my goodness, right? This is causing me anxiety. This is like, I'm so anxious about building my own business after being in corporate for so long. And did you then go back to the somatic process to kind of come out of that in order to build this business that you've got now?
Absolutely. Do you know what? I don't think I'd have had the courage or the confidence to resign from my law firm had I not been doing this work
Mm.
because of that old wound of not feeling good enough and all that self-doubt. So it's testament to the work that I had the courage and confidence to do that. And it just felt right. And I think when you start to work on yourself, you start to trust yourself a bit more. You're not
Yeah,
so much looking at others for validation or approval. You have that sort of instinct where you feel you can trust yourself. And it's lovely to see. And actually, a lot of people will often say that others have noticed the difference in them before you notice it yourself. So I think doing the work gave me the confidence that, you know what, this feels really right. I want to help at least one other person go through what I've gone through. And I see so many brilliant women that I've worked with or worked with in the past. And I think so many ambitious women think that self-doubt is a mindset issue. And in reality, it's actually their own nervous system trying to keep themselves safe. So I think knowing that is a strategic advantage. It's not this is as good as it gets. This is just who I am. You can actually take steps to do something about it. And I think that's what people don't realize. So it's not that brilliant women lack ability. It's like they lack nervous system safety. So going from corporate to being self-employed and running my business, massively different. One, you get your ass wiped in corporate, you've got your HR team, your marketing, all that stuff. And now all of a sudden I'm having to learn everything from the bottom up with the invoicing, first business mistake, wrong details of my bank account on the invoice that went out. You live and learn, don't you? And I learned not to beat myself up, just try and learn from each sort of error. But it's very, very different, but much more rewarding and much more purposeful.
I love that. So anyone that's thinking, somatic, I'm not too sure, but they want to dip their toes in to see what it's like. What are some of the, I guess, the top three tips you would give to that person?
So I guess if it's really noticing how you're feeling, don't just push on through. If you feel yourself getting anxious, what does anxiety feel like? You know, it might be the heart rate, it might be feeling a little bit sweaty, it might be feeling a little bit more edgy and more energy. Just take a breath and try the grounding technique. You know, if you've got a scented balm, have a few breaths in of that, smell that. Notice how the body shifts from, feeling anxious to feeling calmer. The other thing you can do is simple breathing techniques, the 5-8 technique. Breathe in for 5, hold for 2, and exhale for 8. Because if there really was a lion about to eat you or a bus about to run you over, you wouldn't be able to do that long exhalation. So again, the body thinks, do you know what? It's all good. I'm feeling pretty good. And it starts to calm down. So it's little things like that. Um, there's a really good technique as well called bilateral stimulation, which sounds a bit weird, but I've done this so many times and you can't see me, but if I'm tapping my legs left and right under the desk,
Yeah.
it's using both sides of my brain, both hemispheres of the brain. And again, that triggers the vagus nerve just to calm you down. So there's so many little tips that once you know, it's like a superpower. It's such an advantage. And I always think what a gift to share with your family and kids and everything else. It does become your superpower, never mind a strategic advantage in business.
Oh my goodness, I love this. And you would never think something like this would help with your career and in your business and the different ways it can like positively affect and help you kind of move forward and get to the next level of your business as well. Like this is awesome. Now I know at this point people are thinking, oh my goodness, how do I get hold of Charmaine? And how do I get hold of what she does and learn more about it? So where would people go to learn more about what you do?
I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So if you just type Charmian Johnson into LinkedIn, all my stuff will come up. And I've got a website, charmjohnson.thementalwellbeingcompany.com. Again, you can access that through LinkedIn, and I'm sure you'll put the details in the podcast notes as well. But I have got some freebies as well that I can offer.
We all love a freebie. Yes, please share.
So there's a really good guide that I've produced, which really gives you these 5 nervous system secrets that'll help you show up live, do your public speaking, whatever speaking gig you want. And it just shows you the secrets of how to work with the body, just to calm yourself down so that you feel able and confident to step on that stage, show up live. So they're really, really good tips. So I'm going to include that as a freebie as well. And on top of that, I'm also going to offer, which I'll incorporate into the little guide as well, that everyone can have a half-an-hour consultation with me. We can chat about perhaps what people might have struggled with, what they've tried, what they want to change. But at the very least, whether or not you want to go ahead or not, I can give them some techniques to help calm them down in those moments of anxiety. And it's up to them if they want to go ahead with a further work or not. It's absolutely no pressure, no obligation. So a free 30 minutes call as well.
Oh my goodness. I love all of this. Guys, make sure if you haven't got hold of the links, they are in the show notes, right? So scroll down, grab those the links in the show notes, and go ahead and connect with Shah. Right? Sham is awesome at this. Like even this is something new to me, guys, right? And I'm like, oh my goodness, I think I want to learn more about this because I don't know much about somatic trauma healing and all that kind of stuff, everything that Sham has been talking about. And God, if she can do it, guys, right, from going into corporate to building a business, like imagine the effects, the positive effects that it's going to have on you. So connect with Sham, right? Get that freebie. Get on a call with her, right? And I promise you, you will not regret it. Sham, thank you so much for coming to the show. So many golden nuggets in such a short amount of time. Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to share this knowledge. It's game-changing, this awareness and curiosity. So thank you.
No worries. Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.